Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, and the Chattin with CHAP episode 165 is happening right now, and I'm your host, Ginger Wade. Well, if you saw the title today, you saw that I'm going to be talking about immunization paperwork. So this time of year, people are getting their affidavits and their paperwork into the school district for homeschooling. There's always questions that come up about what do I need to hand in? What is the school district supposed to have? What do I have to hand in? What do I not have to hand in? Some of it's gray area, some of it's pretty clear. So it's always good to just review these things. So today in particular, we're going to talk about the immunization paperwork. It is a little bit different than the medical and dental paperwork. So we're just going to talk about it a little bit. And I will start with saying I relearn this stuff all the time. I talk to people who know the law better than me. I talk to folks who have had experience dealing with some issues with the school district regarding these things. I talk to HSLDA. I read the law. And I'm always learning. Sometimes the things that I've understood to be are not true or are maybe differently interpreted. When you look at the law from a lawyer's perspective or things like that. You know what I mean? So I'm just encouraging you to read the law, get to know it and understand it for yourself. If you don't understand it, I don't always understand it. It kind of makes me glaze over. I get someone who does understand it and who has really researched it to explain it to me so that I can properly explain it to you. And sometimes I have had viewpoints that maybe aren't exactly right, so I make sure I go back and re-explain it like I'm going to do today so that we all understand where things are coming from. And it's good this has been really good for me to share it with you because then I really learn it for myself. So anyway, we're going to get into the immunization discussion. So there are choices now. You can do an affidavit or an unsworn declaration, and I just want to say I did a video on the unsworn declaration with Alicia 2 Fridays ago. So if you haven't seen that, you should check it out. It'll explain that new option, and it is a valid option. It's pretty cool. So anyway, on both the unsworn declaration and the affidavit, you can testify that you're taking care of the medical and dental of your child and the immunization care. And what that would do is alert the school district that you're making sure that, you're taking care of your child. Of course you're taking care of your child. So there has been some discussion as to what actually needs to be given to the school district. Now, for medical and dental, I don't ever think you have to give actual records to them. Maybe in particular cases where the parents have been involved with a law or have situations there with a court ruling, that may be different. But as far as your basic medical, dental care, as long as you have a statement saying you're taking care of it, that should suffice. At most, a signed note. You never have to give actual records about medical and dental to the school district, except in those cases I mentioned a second ago. So, immunizations, that is actually covered in a different area of the law that kind of supersedes the homeschool law. It's outside of the homeschool law. And I will post a link to that when I'm done in the comments. And also I will post a picture that my friend Alicia, I see she's watching, hi Alicia, has given me explaining that so that you can all see where that's coming from. So, from this information, you'll see the school district does have responsibility to collect immunization info. This has been given to them by law. They're supposed to make sure that school-age children are being taken care of immunization-wise. It does override the homeschool law. Many districts don't do it. So if you have the school districts where, you hand in your paperwork and they never bother you to ask you for the immunization law, it's not your fault that they don't do it, but many school districts they don't uphold this part of the law that they're supposed to do. So you can state that it's covered in your documentation. However, if your school district does ask for that information via certified letter, you do need to provide either the immunization record or the exemption. Now, I would say if you're not following the exact immunization schedule that the pediatrician gives you, probably would be wise to use an exemption. So say you're not doing as many vaccinations at once, or you've drawn out that schedule to be longer, or you're just picking and choosing which ones you want to do. It is your right to do that as a parent, absolutely. I think as far as this is concerned with paperwork, you might want to do an exemption because you're not exactly following the exact prescribed schedule. Do you know what I'm saying? So if the school district writes you a certified letter and says, hey, we need this information, well then you have to provide either the exemption or an actual paper that says, yeah, I've had this, and this signed by the doctor. So that is how that works. Like I said, in the past, many school districts didn't bother to ask for this, even though it is actually their responsibility to do that. But what we're seeing in many places, this has not happened to me yet. Actually, you know what? It did happen to me 2 years ago. Many more school districts are asking for it because of the increase in homeschoolers. There's been a huge increase in homeschoolers just everywhere. So school districts are like, oh, maybe becoming more aware of it for some reason and are starting to ask for it. So if they do just send you an email and say, hey, you need to give me this stuff, technically you don't need to respond to that. But if it does come via certified mail, you do need to respond for that. So just be prepared for that. So if you're, just getting your paperwork together, so you got 3 options. The first option is to just hand in the proof. Write with your unsworn affidavit or your unsworn declaration. Sorry, I got to keep my words straight. Or the affidavit. You can just hand in your immunization schedule signed by your doctor or your exemption. That's the first option. If you don't want to do that, make sure on your whatever paperwork you use, affidavit or declaration, if you are handing it in, you would say attached, immunization information. The second thing is you can hand in an exemption. So the first one is hand in the proof of doing it. The second one is hand in your exemption. So on either of those, on your affidavit or your unsworn declaration, you would put in the back attached objectives and proof of immunization. Okay, you would do those things. Your third choice is you don't hand that in. So on your paperwork, on your affidavit, on your unsworn declaration, on the back, it would only say attached is objectives. You would not say attached is immunization proof because you're not handing it in, right? So you don't want that on there. So you need to choose. But if you do choose C, option C, which is to not hand in that information, just be aware that the school district may come back to you and ask you for that information, which is, by law, what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to make sure, and that is in a different portion of the law than in the homeschool law. So just so you're aware, that is in the law. I do want to post it so you can read it. So, if they do ask you via certified letter, you do need to respond, okay, either with the immunization record or an exemption. Okay, so just so you know, if you choose A or B, which is to hand in an exemption or something, it relieves that step. It relieves the hassle from the school district, whatever. It also, it's up to you. It's up to you. Honestly, technically, if school districts were on top of what they were supposed to be doing, they should be asking you for it every year. But they're not. So that's kind of like made us be like, oh, But just so you know, according to the law, they do have the responsibility of asking for that. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Now, honestly, even if your children do the full immunization schedule, you can hand in an exemption if you just don't want them to know specifically what your child is doing, because it's private. So that's what's awesome about being in Pennsylvania. We do have a religious, medical, and philosophical exemption option for vaccinations, which is it's actually really a nice freedom choice there. So if you want to keep that information private, you don't actually want them to see your child's schedule, just file an exemption, because then that, pretty much says you're taking care of it, or you have chosen to follow it according to your choice, your parental choice for your child. Anyway, so if something comes up like this and you choose not to hand in paperwork, just keep in mind that it is in the law. It would be awful for it to go further than just a conversation between you and your school district, but if it would, the law would actually be in favor of the school district because it is in there that they're supposed to be making sure about immunization care. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, we may not agree with that, but that's how it is. Anyway, so I just wanted to clear that up, and hopefully that helps you guys. Like I said, you have the choice whether you want to file it with your paperwork or not, but if you don't, just be aware that the school district can ask you for it. And if they do ask you via certified letter, then you need to respond. So hopefully that was helpful to you. Like I said, I will post the article and the screenshot that will help you see where on earth is this coming from. You know, why it's not in the homeschool law. How do I not know it? And then you can be aware of it, you know, share it with other people, help them to understand. Like I said, I'm always trying to learn. I do understand that some of the things I was told when I got started might not exactly be what the law actually says. So it's always good to check with people who know it better than you and can explain it to you. And hopefully this just makes it more clear to you and is more helpful to you. I do have our homeschoolpennsylvania.org link featured here so that you can go out. We have an immunization exemption form out there that you can print and use if you are looking for one, along with affidavit. We don't have our unsworn declaration out there yet. We're looking to do that this weekend. So just so you're aware, it's out there. We are going to make the unsworn declaration available to you soon, and you can use an immunization exemption, which is super handy. So hopefully that cleared up a little part of the law. You can share this with others so that they know too. And thanks for tuning in today. And hopefully I'll be catching up with you next week. Enjoy your summer. Oh, Laura Brady says, already exempt with no issues at all since 2010. So that's awesome. Yay for no issues. Celebration. Yay for Laura. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for commenting. And I will see you soon again. Bye.